Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a some assemblage required video that I'm combining with 31 days of cut files with MK and Janet. That's me. And that's me. And Mixed Media Mayhem, which we're using gears, the color brown, and a cut file. So we are using some really cute leaf cut files today. These are from Confessions of a Paper Addict, but they came in the cut file kit for the month if you purchased that from Some Assemblage Required. If you did not, you can go and purchase these separately from Confessions of a Paper Addict. I believe it's a .com. So I ran them through a texture fade. I think it's called a texture fade from Sizzix and Tim Holtz. And I really liked the leaf pattern that this embossing folder had on it, so I wanted my leaves to kind of have a leaf impression on it, even though they're not exactly lined up like a leaf would be, but you kind of get that idea, and the texture is really cool. So then I pulled out a whole bunch of different ink sprays. I've got some Media Gloss in Ancient that I'm using right there. I'm using some Media Gloss in Syrup, which is a kind of brown color. I've used a little bit of let's see here, I think it's Sunset, Fiery Sunset Dylusions Spray. I'm also using some gold Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and I am going to use a bunch of other, or some water to mix all of that up. And then I also have some Liquitex gold acrylic ink that I'm using. So those are the various things. I'll list them down below. There might be one or two others that I missed in saying, but I will list them down below so that you can check that out if that's of interest to you. And then this is the Liquitex gold. I really like this stuff because it dries really fast and it's really kind of vibrant. And it is an ink, though. It's not a water-based like product. I think it's an acrylic ink or something. I don't know. But I really love the color that it gives. It's really bold. And so I'm just kind of playing around with the placement of all of the colors. I want these leaves to look really fall-like. And then when I'm all done, I'm going to stitch through them with some embroidery floss. I'm just using some 6-strand DMC embroidery floss. I'm going to use a brown floss, I believe, just to kind of make those veins a little bit more bold. And I really like the way that it comes out. Now, I'm not going to show you all of the stitching. I do have a stitching video that I put up on my channel on July 31st, so a couple of days ago. And if you're interested in checking that out, you can go to that. I will link it down below for you. It does show you how to do a chain stitch and a back stitch. So a simple back stitch and then the chain stitch as well. And it shows you up close how to do that. So if that's something that you are interested in doing, you can check it out. I am using a little bit of walnut stain going over the tops of the impression so that it kind of makes them a little bit more bold and pronounced. And I really like how that looks. It's very subtle, but I do like the way that it looks. So there are my leaves. They are all stitched. And then I have a really old paper from October Afternoon. I just kind of marked where I want this sway to go. Sway? I don't know. It's not a sway. It's just a curve. Where I wanted this curve to go on my paper. And I've got some pictures of the girls that I take care of, and their mom is in the photo and one of their little friends is in the photo. So they are all blocked off for privacy purposes. But I have them playing in the leaves at the park near their house. And I thought that was just a fun memory with their mom. And I wanted to make sure that made it into one of their albums because I think it's super cute. And then I am going to use my awesome distressing tool from Some Assemblage Required. I really love this tool. And I am going to rough up the edges of my paper. If you aren't familiar with the distressing tool, it's got a blade in between all of those grooves, and so you have lots of different sections of the blade to work with. It stays very sharp, and it's really easy to hold in your hand because it's kind of chunky and big, so you can get a good grip on it. I used to not really enjoy distressing anything because I had a really tiny one that is maybe just a little bit larger than a quarter, and the little slots or grooves that you would put the paper into distress was really small, and it would slide out all the time, and it wouldn't do anything. It was just super annoying. This one, I love distressing with it. It works so well, and it's super easy to use. Now I've marked my paper where my photos are going to lay and where this curve of the pattern paper is going, and I'm using more of that Liquitex ink, and I am using a straw to kind of blow the splatter out from the lines, and I really like the way that it's looking. It is giving it a really cool look where almost like the wind is blowing the paint across the page, and so I really like that. I think it looks kind of cool, and it just requires a straw. You can use one of those. Tim Holtz has a I don't know what it's called, but it's got a bulb on one end where you squeeze it and the air goes out of it, that is used like for alcohol ink, but in this case straw works as well. Either one would work well. Now I did ink up that paper with the with the walnut stain ink, and now I am putting a little bit of ancient media gloss splatter, and it's not really a dark bronze or not really an orangey bronze, but it's a kind of an antique gold maybe, so a little bit more brown than what the ink is there, and so I'm using that. And then off to the side, you can see I have a little black and white tool. I keep setting my my spray bottles on, and that is a mixer. It has, I think, 4,000 RPMs, and you just press down on it and it mixes it up, so there's not as much shaking involved. Now these bottles are a little bit bigger than what it's rated for, so I do have to like turn the bottle over a couple of times to mix the top half with the bottom half, but all of that stuff that's on the bottom gets mixed up really well by just holding it onto that little mixer, and I'll put a link for that down below as well, if that's something that you're interested in. So now I have also put a little bit of gold Heidi Swapp Color Shine sprinkled over this piece of pattern paper from October Afternoon. I am also putting a little bit of that ancient media gloss, and then I took the ancient media gloss and rubbed it across the edge of the paper to give it some shine. Now I do realize I am covering up most of that with these leaves, and that's okay. I don't mind that it's covered up, but the overall effect, you can still see it when you're looking at the page, and I really like the way that it looks. That little 3x3 card, or actually I think it might have been, yeah, I think it's 3x3. It says rake, pile, and jump. It's from the same collection from this October Afternoon paper, but I don't end up using it. It looks more playful than this layout is. So I am pulling out a bunch of gears from this pack that came from MK's shop. Some assemblage required. Actually, I believe these were in the monthly embellishment box. And I am pulling out the bronzy looking ones. I don't want the orangey copper ones so much, or the gold or the silver. I want the more bronzy ones. And so I am pulling those out to see how I can use them and tuck them under some leaves here, because my mixed media mayhem recipe includes the color brown, which I have more than accomplished here. It also includes a cut file, which I've more than accomplished, and now I need to put some gears on here. So they're going to get tucked underneath, and they will be peeking out a bit. I also have another little pack from Some Assemblage Required. It is a rake with some fall leaves, and I'm going to use that as well because I think it's adorable, and I just could not resist. It's just super cute, and it's just perfect for this layout. I did originally pull out an acrylic piece from Colorcast that said something like fall leaves or something like, I think it just said fall leaves actually, but it was turquoise and it didn't match this at all, so I quickly set that aside, and I'm going for a title that I'm going to have to create on my own using my thickers. And I'm still using up stuff in my stash. If you were watching last month, we did a series called Use the Stuff, where we're trying to use up our stash items so that we have room for some incoming stuff for Kit Conspiracy, which is happening in November. If you're interested in a Kit Conspiracy kit, you can go and join the Facebook group for Kit Conspiracy and see what the kits are, or you can go and check out MK's shop for that as well, because she has all of the kits for Kit Conspiracy that we'll be using through November. The distress tool, this rake and leaves, and these gears. So lots of stuff going on over in her shop. I am popping these leaves up onto some foam so that the gears can tuck underneath. And I did run the entire layout through my sewing machine all the way around the border so that it can have a nice brown border or brown stitch thread all the way around the outside of the layout just to frame it. And I really like that. It frames it really nicely, and I think it looks really good. So now I am just following that curve of that tree paper with my leaves, and I am setting my acrylic block on top of my leaves just to kind of hold everything in place until the glue sets up just a bit. This Nuvo Deluxe adhesive does dry quickly, so it's not like it's going to take a long time, but it does need a few seconds to set up, especially as I move around working on things. I don't want to slide it across my page if my arm like brushes it or gets caught, which, I mean, that doesn't happen very often, but you never know. Now I'm going to pull out the rake and leaves. The wooden pieces in this set are adhesive backed. All of her wood is adhesive backed, so you don't have to even worry about getting glue dots or liquid glue or anything. It's already ready to go. And then the acrylic leaves, I will have to put a little bit of adhesive on those just to make sure that they stay where I want them to go. And I typically will use a glue dot. However, every once in a while, if it's really a small area or thin, I will use liquid glue, and that seems to hold just fine as well. So I am going to tuck some of the leaves in, and some of them are going to be layered onto these gears, and I think they look really cool. It doesn't stick up much more than that rake there because the rake is up onto some foam tape. I mean, not the rake. The leaf is onto foam tape, and then the rake is on top of that. So the gear is getting tucked under the leaf, and then I will have a couple of them that have the little leaves on top, and I think it looks really cute, and I really like the way that it turns out. So while I work on that, I just also want to tell you a little bit about Mixed Media Mayhem. That is you can go and check out the Mixed Media Mayhem scrapbooking group. We do a different mixed media layout every Friday, and I think we're starting to, it used to be we just had a hop on Fridays so that you can on Fridays, on the last Friday of the month, so that you could join in and play along. We would post everything ahead of time. And I think we are starting to post all of the stuff ahead of time so you can play along just whenever you want. So go and check out that group as well if you're not already a member of it. And I will put a link for that below also. And while I'm on that note, you can join my Facebook group too if you want. The link for that is always in my description box down below. So I pulled out these stickers. I have made my own words out of them using the varying letters that were in the package. My title is just going to be Fall Fun. And I like these because they're kind of a rose gold, which it goes so perfectly with these leaves and with the background. I know it doesn't stand out. It's not super bold title, but I'm totally okay with that. I don't have any problem with that at all. They don't really have a ton to say about this layout, so I am not including a big embellishment area, or not embellishment, journaling area for it, because I don't really have a lot that needs to be written down. If there's any note about who the friend is or anything like that, I can just make a little note under Fall Fun and just put with and her name. So I'm not going to say her name here, but that's what I'll probably just do. They know it's the park next to their house. It's very obvious, and I think it'll be just fine like that. So I'm just figuring out the placement for these last few gears and leaves because I want to make sure they fit in and they don't look awkward wherever I end up putting them. Those ones that are in front of the word Fall Fun are not going to stay there. They're going to move and they'll look a lot better once they are moved out of the title area. And I know the title, it blends in a little bit with those pink trees down there, and you can see it here really well in the close-up. It's a little bit harder to see, but when you actually look at the layout, it looks more like what it looks like right here than in the close-up. I think it just depends on the angle that the photo is taken on how it picks up the metallic glitter that's on those stickers. I should mention I am using some glue dots on some of these pieces of metal, but I am also using a little bit of the liquid glue, and I think it's going to hold just fine. given I have a little bit of both on there. And these are so small, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. If they were really large, I would probably reinforce that. But in this case, they're so tiny, I don't think they're going to pop off when you move, like turn the page in the album. It's not going to cause them to just pop off of the paper background. So here I'm just pulling the backer off of the adhesive for the rake there, and I did put a little bit of foam underneath the handle just so it has a little extra support and doesn't get broken. So that is it, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and go and check out what MK is doing on her channel today for 31 Days of Cutfiles, and don't forget to check out the list of people who are playing along for Mixed Media Mayhem so that you can get more inspiration with more Cutfiles and mixed media. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and if you're not subscribed, I'd love for you to do that too. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video, so come back and join me then, and have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.